We're going to go to Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. And when we get it, we're going to go into the scriptures on it. Amen. Go ahead, Doc.
This is the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him.
Right, so everything we do is in word or deed through the Father, actions and by what we say, right? So today, like I said, we're going to talk about things concerning the records of our history, all right? So when we think of Rome, what do we think of?
Esau.
Esau. Okay.
Caucasians.
Rome. Okay, so Rome is in a place called Italy, right?
Yes.
And they call Rome the Eternal City. Y'all didn't know that. Rome is considered the Italian Eternal City.
Wow.
So when you read books and you go into different books of the past, what you will not see is the Vatican. You won't see the Vatican in no ancient books. The only thing you're going to see is the church. See, Rome or the Vatican was known as the church. So if you read anything prior to the 19th century, it's going to say the church. All right? And so this is a way of hiding itself from our captivity, our slavery, from the 1600 to 17th century era, right? Or the 16th century. This is how they hid themselves away from us, where we thought that, oh, you know, it was the so-called white man. But no, there was an order that was decreed through the king and the queen of Rome, which was from the church, which was the popes. Okay, and so when we read our scriptures, we have to understand that this was that this is our records, but the ones who were in charge of this book was Rome. Mm-hmm. They had an order that this Bible wasn't even supposed to get printed. I don't know if y'all know that. It wasn't supposed to even get printed for the whole world. Mm. People were dying, right, going to different countries just to try to get it printed. All right, there was a printing press, but there was like one or two of them. They were very rare. You couldn't find a printing machine. All right, so there's a lot of guys that got killed making this Bible. And so that's why I said, whatever we do in word or deed, all in the name of Hashem, that's what they were doing. The Most High had even the heathens working for us, getting things done. All right, so what's interesting is when you look at our enemies, France, Germany, Russia, okay, you look at Spain, you look at Greece, these people, they didn't want us to get this Bible. So when they got to London, who was in London? You had the Moors who were in London, right? You had Israelites who were in London, or England, and Ireland. Okay, so these people who were there were a lot of Israelites who were there who had rights of their own to do the things that they wanted, because we had kings and queens up there. Right, right. Okay, this is where you get the ancient Britons from. They were there. And so when you look at Queen Victoria, did you bring your book,
yeah.
Nature Knows No Color Line?
Better be in here.
Because when you look at that book, on the front of that cover, it shows a lady. Are you familiar with that book? Let me see that book. This book is called Nature Knows No Color Line. All right? And on the front of this cover is Queen who?
Queen Charlotte Victoria?
Yeah.
Oh, Victoria? Yeah,
Charlotte Victoria was King James' grandmother. All right? So this is his grandmother. She was a black woman. All right? Now King James ended up being the king. All right? It wasn't a duke, as people like to say. It was dukes in Europe. Dukes were in Spain. They were in France. They were in Germany. Okay? So when you see London and England, the Bible was created in the 1600s. Actually, it was before that. You had several different versions of the Bible that were out. But this one is the most one that was put together by scholars. Okay? Now, we could go into the Bible dictionary, and it breaks it down what parts of the Bible that were put together. Get that from me? Yeah. Go to Bible. it's under Bible. And go to King James. Here you go, read this. King James Version. And normally when we speak, when we have class, or even when we're in camp, we might have a set origin that we're going to start with, or we might have something that we may have put in words. But a lot of times, when we do this, we end up coming to class and the Spirit takes us somewhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and read that for me out. Read the, yeah, right there.
Page 86 in the Bible Compact Dictionary, King James Version. When Elizabeth died in 1603, the crown passed to James I, who had been king of Scotland for 37 years,
Right.
as James
James the
VI. Several months after he ascended the throne of England, he authorized a new translation of the Bible to replace the bishop's Bible.
Okay, so he was a Scottish man. All right, and when you look at Ireland, Ireland stands for irate man, Irish. When they say Irish, ish means man. The ira means irate, or to be angry.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Scot also means black.
Scott.
Scot means black. So that's telling you about the people of that land. Just like when you hear the land called Niger, people think right away of black people in Niger, right? So read on up.
47 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars of the day were divided into 6 groups.
Okay.
3 for the Old Testament, 2 for the New, and 1 for the Apocrypha. 2 of the groups met at Oxford, 2 at Cambridge, 2 at Westminster.
So Oxford, Cambridge, Westminster, these are Ivy League schools. Top notch. Go ahead.
When a group had completed its task, its work was submitted to 12 men, 2 of each panel. Final differences of opinion were settled at a general meeting of each company. In cases of special difficulty, learned men outside the broad of revisers.
Okay, so all these men all they were doing was taking what was already written on scroll, as you saw in this book. It said companies. Okay, give me Psalm 68:11 real quick. Psalm 68:11. And I'm going to show you. The Most High spoke about companies, right? When this book was being assembled. Read that.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 68, verse 11. The Lord gave the word. Great was the company of those that published it.
Great was the company of those that published it. So even back in those days, the Most High had a company of Israelites who published the book that was spiritually moved. Okay? These men that King James assembled were learned men. They were also spiritually moved to do this Bible, just like other men who had died trying to put this Bible in place, okay, prior to them. But they were all fighting against a dragon, and that dragon was who? The Roman Empire. Okay? The Roman Empire was the dragon. How many of y'all seen that? What's the name of that movie that we were supposed to go see? One of the million?
All the money in the world.
All the money in the world. Brothers, go see that movie. All the money in the world is about the Gettys, right?
Gettys, right.
It's about the Gettys. And you seen it out?
No, I didn't see that.
The Gettys. And the Gettys, of course, y'all know who Gettys are, right? You got the DuPonts, you got the Gettys, you got the Rothschilds, you got all these men, the 5 families that run the whole earth, right? The richest family on the whole world. So when you see this movie, you got to see this movie because when it speaks about the Gettys, it's talking in third person. And so this guy, the whole movie, he's talking almost like in third person. You know, you talk in third person, you're like, great is, you know, you say your name and everything, acting like you're not really yourself.
Right.
You know, that's third person. Like, man, you can't deal with me, you know, or you can't deal with Shemaiah Wan. Well, I'm Shemaiah Wan.
Right.
You know, that's third person. Brothers do that all the time, talk in third person. But see, the Gettys, the DuPonts, the Rockefeller, they talk in third person all the time. Like, there's nothing like a Getty, right? There's nothing like, you can't defy any Gettys. So when you watch this movie, I don't want to be all long-winded, it's an old guy, he has all this money, he has 14 grandchildren, one of his grandchildren gets taken, kidnapped, hostage. And this grandchild is special to this guy. You got 13 other ones, but they're not special like this one. This one, he can see something different, just like Abraham can see in this son, Isaac, versus Ishmael. He can see in this son, there's something different. So when he gets kidnapped, prior to that, he takes this kid through a walk through Rome, like ancient Rome. He's walking through ancient Rome. He says, I was here. I ran this place. I was the king of the city. I had slaves. I had hostages. He's talking in that third person, like he was there. And you know, my lady, she was there. She said he acted like he was there, and I said he was. Now, when you look at rich people, that's how they talk. They talk as if they were back in the old days, because they knew their lineage, they knew their forefathers. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the Israelites, we're the only people on the planet that do that, opposing those who are rich. We are rich with the spirit, and so when we talk about things, we talk as if we were there back in those ancient times. Okay? When you see, like, when we're talking, people like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was my forefathers. And I was there. We was there when we fled into Africa. And we got on the slave ships. We're talking in third person almost. But we was there. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with these rich families. They do the same thing. Even Yahushua, when he was fighting with his own people, and they said to him, they said, you ain't number 30 years old. How can you say that you are? He says, look, before Abraham and Isaac, I am.
That's when they pick stones up on the hole. We finna knock you out there.
Right.
Can you turn up? They say you're low a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're kind of low.
Yes.
That was a deep scripture right there.
Yeah, he said I am. So
like that.
So when you see movies like that, it's showing you something that a lot of people are not used to hearing. Yeah, so this is what we have to understand about the Vatican. The Vatican has changed its name many a times. Now the Vatican used to go by the name of the Eternal City as well. Also used to go by the name of the capital of Italy, right? It went by the Italian capital, and it also just embodied the whole country of Italy and called itself Italy, right? But what it was known for from 750 all the way to 1850 was the church. So the church was what was being persecuted. They said the church was persecuted during those days. That's why when Christians look at prophecy, they don't understand when these passages are talking about the church was already crucified. No, the church has not been crucified. The church are the Israelites. The church was never the Catholic Church. It was never the people of the Catholic Church. All right. All right. So when you look at that, I wanted to talk to you about that, because also there's another part of Europe that also calls itself the church, or Rome, and that's Moscow. Moscow is the third embodiment of Rome. Okay? It's the third embodiment of Rome. Okay? Now it's obsolete. They don't even call it that no more. They don't call it Rome, they don't call it Italy, but Moscow too. Alright? So now I'm going to show you some things about Rome, what they embody, what countries they embody. Okay? This is important because we talk about all these different nationalities: Moab, Esau, Ishmael, this and that, the children of Israel. All of this is important. Okay? Alright, so what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to talk about how all of this comes to a head. So, of course, y'all know that Rome is a city-state. Y'all know what a city-state is? Or the Vatican is a city-state. It's not part of Rome anymore. The Vatican is its own city. It's its own city. They separated. They had a fight. Okay, the city of Rome and the city of the Vatican had a fight about 3 years, and it broke apart around 1800 to 1850. It broke apart. I think it was about three years or something like that. Well, the Vatican became who they were. And I'm telling you this just to give you I'm laying out the groundwork so you can understand. The Vatican is historically known, it's spiritually known all the way around the world. It's the richest city in the world. It has all the artifacts in the world that's been taken from every country that's been conquered. The Vatican. It's a giant vault. It's a museum. Everything in this place. I think I got a book called The Vatican right here. This book is heavy. See how big this book is?
It's heavy.
It's called The Art Treasures of the Vatican. It's huge. And they got all these pots Look at those pots. You got Japheth on that pot. You can look on there and look at that, right? But they got all these pictures and things that have been stolen. Black angels and all these different things, right? All around the world, all the artifacts have been stolen. Moab stuff been stolen, Judah stuff, Elam, that's what I meant to say. All right, all of their stuff is in this place here. Their astronomy, their mystics, their witchcraft, everything is in here. The ancient books, right? So when you look at this book, this is like a little small piece of what Rome got. And this is just the stuff that they showing. Right? So, if we know that they dominate the world, then who is Christianity under?
Same people.
Same people. So, when you look at the Vatican has sects up under it. The sects are the Christianity religions. That's the sects. S-E-C-T-S. So somebody don't think I'm saying sects. Alright, the sects. That's the different churches up under. Christianity is a form of that. All these churches you see in these different cities are ran by the Vatican. Every single city. They have churches up and down the streets. They have to get all their orders from the Vatican. Alright? So all the artifacts, everything's under it. It's the central government of the world. Alright, the Catholic Church. It's the headquarters of all the churches. So we all know about the Greeks, right?
Yes.
Alright, and the Greeks was the forefront to the Romans. So when you read 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and 1, can you get that from me?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That was the first rulership that they started under, was the Greeks, right?
It was the Greeks.
Edomite started with the Greeks.
Yeah. So it was like tyranny though. The Greeks fell to the Romans.
Right.
Okay? And what he did was, because Jerusalem was already under the Greeks, even though we won our freedom from them, we still had to pay homage to the Romans and the Greeks just to keep, we had to pay homage to the Romans just to keep the Greeks off of us. Same people, but when you read 2 Maccabees, it talks about that. We were basically working with the Romans. This is where we get our feast day from. What's the Nicanor? No, the Feast of Nicanor. Yeah. All right, this is where we get our feast day. We had to kill that dude just so we could break ties with the so-called Greeks. So we was giving money to the Romans to help fight the Greeks off, which were the same people. If y'all didn't understand how that works.
Two evils.
Right, the lesser of two evils. They were the same people. So the Romans basically encompassed all the things that the Greeks had when they conquered them. They took all, remember the Greeks took astronomy from the Chaldeans that was in Babylon. They took all of the Assyrian stuff. They took the Assyrian gods, they took the Egyptian gods. They took all these different gods, right? So if they took all these gods, what happened? The Romans became the new gods. They became the new gods. Go ahead and read that, 1 Maccabees 1:1.
It's the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian.
The Macedonian, come on.
Who came out of the land of Chittim, and has smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and Medes, that reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Keep going.
And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth.
And slew the kings of the earth. So the Greeks conquered everybody. So the Romans, all they had to do was conquer the Greeks, and then they would have everything. And so this what was Daniel's prophecy about the beast of the earth. The Romans would be the last beast. So when you read on, keep going.
And went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
So who are these nations? Asia, Africa, Europe. All right, he took over all these different nations. Come on, every nation that was within those borders, he took over. Go ahead.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, and he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him.
That word is important, tributaries.
Taxes.
So the Jews became tributaries to who?
The Romans.
The Greeks.
The Greeks.
And by being a tributary, what does that mean? Like the brother just said, you have to pay taxes. Like I was telling my son earlier, if you had $20 and I was originally taxing you $3, and then I don't like what you just did because you're trying to say that you the Jews and you better than us, your kingdom is better than ours. Okay, I'm gonna tax you $7 on that $20. Now what? He ain't gotta do nothing. He ain't gotta kill you. All he gotta do is just raise taxes. That's it. He beating you up. You can't pay. You can't pay little things now. That's a tributary. Go ahead.
And after these he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive.
Right, so who is the kingdom that he parted to? I'm going to give this to you in a nutshell real quick, which the Bible is very hard to put in a nutshell. Lysimachus was one. Seleucus was another one.
Epiphanies.
Antiochus Epiphanes was another one. Who's another one, Anaj?
Actual
Seleucus.
Seleucus is another one. Give me another one, Anaj. Cassandra is another one. Give me one, Isaac. Okay. And to Jonas and to Genos, or Jonas, he was another one. The last one is Ptolemy. Ptolemy, let me explain to you about Ptolemy. Ptolemy was very unique. What Ptolemy tried to do that was different from the rest of them, like Antiochus was a beast. He would beat you down and make you pay taxes. All right? He would make you lose your customs and everything. What Ptolemy did, which was in Egypt, he was in the land of Egypt, what he would do, he would actually try to get into your soul. He knew he already beat you up, but he wanted to embody, he wanted to take over your whole system. He wanted to get your religions, he wanted to get your customs, he wanted to get the land bases where you go hide or where you go praise your God, or the feast of, like we do the Feast of Tabernacles. He wanted to go find out where you do the Feast of Tabernacles.
Like Paul used to do.
Yeah.
Oh, Saul.
This was the difference with him versus all the other kings that set up on earth. He wanted to befriend you and take everything you knew about him. Like here in this land, they made you worship other gods. Right? They took your name. They made sure you can go back to your homeland. They took everything. This land is the same thing. They market their beast after Ptolemy and Alexander. So all of these people together made up a system that the Romans copied. All right? So they controlled the outside and inside of a person, man. Matter of fact, when you get down to Columbus, which we're going to go to, Columbus copied his whole market off of Ptolemy. Columbus. Did y'all know that Columbus was a duke? Y'all know what a duke is, right? So this is what a duke is. Give me Numbers 3 and 10.
like a king or something like that?
I'm going to show you what a duke is. But first, we're going to go to Numbers 3 and 10. Get that? Read that if you got it.
It's the book of Numbers, chapter 3, verse 10. And thou shalt appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall wait on their priest's office. And the stranger that cometh nigh shall be put to death.
So he said that you shall appoint Aaron, and y'all shall wait on your priest's office. So they were the priests of who? Of Israel, right? Read the first verse and the second verse.
Numbers chapter 3, verse 1. These are the generations of Aaron and Moses in the day of the Lord spake with Moses in Mount Sinai. And these are the names of the sons of Aaron: Nadab, the firstborn, and Abihu, and Eleazar, and Ithamar.
Go to chapter 4, verse 1. I'm sorry, 4, verse 2.
This is Numbers chapter 4, verse 2. Take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi, after their families, by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even until 50 years old, all that enter into the host to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation.
Right, so start right there. So the Levites were our priests. The Levites were the ones who ruled Israel. So who ruled Esau's kingdom?
The dukes.
The dukes. They were just like the Levites, but they were for the Edomites. All right, the dukes. Go to Genesis 36. And the reason why I'm going here, because I want to show you how all this is a tributary to us today. And that our records are with the dukes. Genesis 36 and go to verse 15.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 36, verse 15.
Go to 14.
14, verse 14.
Mhm.
And these were the sons of
Aholibama.
Aholibama, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife, and she bare to Esau Jeush and Jaalam and Korah. These were the dukes.
These were the who?
These were the dukes
These were the dukes. Go ahead.
of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duke Timan, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz, Duke Korah, Duke Katam, Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came from Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adah. And these were the sons of Ruel, Esau's son, Duke Nathan, Duke Zerah, Duke Shammah, Duke Mazah. These are the dukes that came to Ruel in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Bashemath,
Right. So right there.
Esau's wife.
So right there you got the dukes, right? So the dukes are considered like Levites. All right. So the way you spell dukes, that was another word that was hidden to us. That when you look it up in the history, it's not spelled D-U-K-E-S. It's spelled D-U-X. D-U-X. So you can look up dukes all you want, you're not going to find it. Dukes eventually came to a halt, just like the word Levi came to a halt. Right? And it's because they stopped calling themselves dukes because they didn't want us to put two and two together. Okay? Now when you go into this book, I have a book called Rivers of Gold, The Rise of the Spanish Empire from Columbus to Magellan. Hugh Thomas, all right? So when you look at this book, and you go to, what page I want? Go to page 103 in here.
Flip right to it.
Okay, that's 103. Yeah, so read up here. Yeah, read, start right there.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, read that.
It's the books of the Rivers of Gold, page 103.
Uh-huh.
Everyone knew that Borgia,
Y'all know who Borgia was, right? Like Caesar Borgia posed for the name Jesus Christ. That was Caesar Borgia. When you look at the pictures and paintings on the wall of a white Jesus with blue eyes, stringy hair, that's Caesar Borgia. Well, this was Caesar Borgia's father. Okay, go ahead.
everyone knew that Borgia was not going to be the angel pope whom a few dreamers had optimistically predicted that would appear in 1493. A man who could be expected to seek no temporal power, but be concerned only with the good of souls.
Okay, so this was Caesar Borgia's father. When he says the good of souls, he's not talking about the slaves. Just like in America it says, and all of us shall be granted freedom or liberty. It's not talking about us. It's not talking about the Negroes, Latinos, and American Indians when it says all should be granted liberty. Those laws don't apply to us even today, right? They could do injustice under the banner of their law. If we even think about doing it, they're going to put us in jail. Okay, that's the difference. If you're a landowner, you own property back then and even now, you can escape getting thrown in jail by paying tributary, being a tributary, because you pay taxes. Right? You can pay taxes and it ain't going to work the same. You're going to have to spend extra the amount of money to win your case. All right? Go ahead.
Profligate, Simonist, and hedonist, although Alexander might be worldly and charming as he certainly was, unapologetically sensual, and a lover of women as he had always been.
All right, this is Caesar Borgia's oldest son. Go ahead.
Great promoter of his family, including a murderous son, Caesar.
All right, so now he's talking about his second son, Caesar. Okay, so if y'all don't know the story, Caesar Borgia killed his oldest brother because his oldest brother was what his father wanted him to be. A man of renown, a man who loved women, a man who treated the soldiers right. But Caesar Borgia, a homosexual, a man who was cunning, a man who had lovers in every city that was of men,
Slept with his sister.
slept with his sister, Lucretia Borgia,
Killed her husband.
killed her husband, and he killed his brother. All right? By throwing darts in his back. Go ahead.
Including his murderous son Caesar, as he would show himself. He had the advantage as far as Fernando and Isabel were concerned,
Isabel's Lucretia. Come on.
of being half Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Mortar commented ribaldly that if Borgia had made his eldest son Duke of Gandia,
If he had made his eldest son what?
Duke of
So the
Gandia,
dukes was still here. So Caesar Borgia is an Edomite. You can't say that he's not an Edomite. He was a what? A duke. His brother was a duke. His daddy was a duke. Come on.
Duke of Gandia, when he was a mere cardinal.
Uh-huh.
Now surely he would make him king.
He would make him what?
Now surely he would make him king.
So if Caesar Borgia killed his brother, what would that make him? The next king.
The heir.
So when he had his picture painted, yeah, he was a king, he was an heir, but now he took on the name of Christ. And now when y'all see that, y'all call him the king, or y'all call him Christ when he's not. It's a hypocrite,
Idolatry.
it's idolatry, right? It's stolen identity. Go ahead, is there more in there?
He feared all the audio. He feared that even though Alexander was Spanish, the monarchs hated the thought of his wickedness, lewdness, and ambition for his children.
Uh-huh.
Yet there were definite advantages for the monarchs of Spain in having Alexander as pope.
Okay, so we'll stop right there. So the reason why I wanted to bring this out is to show you that the dukes still lived on. And this is in the 15th century. What century are we in? The 21st century, right?
Wasn't that long ago.
That wasn't that long ago. But the dukes were still here. So when you look at Alexander, guess who came after him? Columbus. Guess what Columbus called him? Columbus was a duke.
Hey, you want to say something? You know what's so funny? Growing up as a kid, y'all heard this before. You remember that little episode used to come on TV called The Dukes of Hazzard?
The Dukes of
Two white boys that drove the General Lee. Yeah, the Charger with the Confederate flag on it.
Right.
The Dukes of Hazzard.
Tell him himself.
Man, I used to want one of them cars so damn bad. They're racist gonna be on.
So understand that we have Italy, we have Spain, we have France, we have Russia or the Soviet Union, right? We have Germany, we have these countries, Greece, they had dukes all in these countries. So this is the long arm of Italy in Spain right now. So I want you just to read off, this is a family tree. Y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
This is a family tree of the dukes.
You need to get a copy of that, man.
Family tree.
I'm the poster on that.
And this is from the Spanish side. Remember it said Lucretia Borgia, Isabel, had Spanish in her blood. And our older brother. But Caesar Borgia, he had no Spanish in his blood. Alright? And that's why we say even the Spanish are what? Edomites. Because when they came down to the Americas, what did they do? Conquered. Destroyed. Just like John 8 and, what's that? John 8 and 8. The thief cometh not but to steal, but to kill, to destroy.
Yeah.
That's what they did. So read this right here, the spiritual royal family.
The Spanish royal family. Enrique.
Just read all the ones with the orange dots, because we'll be here all day if we go through it.
Enrique. Catherine. Duke of Lancaster.
Uh-huh. Duke of Lancaster. Right there.
Fernando. Duke of Medina.
Uh-huh. Del Rio Seco.
Grandfather of the Spanish nobility. 1398 through 1458. The first Marquis of Santillana. Diego.
He was a duke too. Go ahead.
First Duke of Infantado.
So all of these were the first dukes, meaning dukes also meant chief, it meant captain, it meant nobility, it meant son. When you heard duke, that wasn't a maternal type word. It was patriarch. It was a patriarch word when you heard duke.
Like senators.
Right, well, it's just like our patriarch is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I see what you're saying. So, go ahead.
First Duke of Medinaceli. Catalina. Rodrigo. 1443 through 92.
So when you look at these, these are the dukes, right? And all their family members are dukes. So when you reach that plateau as an Edomite, you become a duke. You become a captain, right? So those are the dukes, just like we have Levites, all right? You got any question? All right, so I wanted to show you that. So when we get to these scriptures right here, so like the brother said, we have spoken on tributaries, right? Go to 1 Maccabees 1:41. I want to show you what Antiochus did. Now, taxes is important. Now, when we speak about taxes, guess what? We're talking about census. In order to be taxed, there's got to be a census.
Record.
There's got to be a record. Now, every 10 years? Every 10 years they come around and they knock on your door to try to find out how many people live in it. How many sons you got, how many daughters you got, how many grandbabies you got. And on that census, you're supposed to mark down how many people live in your household, plus the names of the people who are in there. Okay? That's a census. They compare that with, guess what? Birth certificates. Because they have a census at the Catholic Church. They hold all the archives of all the families in the United States. They have the slave archives, and they have the archives of the families. That's why if you look for your family history, you can only go back so far, because prior to the 1700s, you were slaves. Or 1800s, y'all were slaves. So you might stop at the 1800s, can't find your family history. Now you got to look under the slave records. All right? And sometimes they have it to the point where they might have all the families from the 19th century or the 20th century to the 19th century, somewhere like in San Jose. But you get to the 1800s, you're like, man, I don't see these records. Where they at? Well, you have to go down south. You have to go to the Georgia Catholic Church. What do they call it? Basilica, or whatever they call it. You got to go to their archives and they'll have it. Then you find the slave census.
Hey, what do this big Mormon temple have? I hear a lot of people. I think I even heard you say that you went to the Mormon temple.
They in cahoots.
They're in cahoots.
They
Okay,
in
right.
cahoots. Same thing. And that's a Roman Catholic temple down there, downtown Oakland.
No, I'm talking about on the hill. Up
Oh,
there.
on the hill. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
They're all paying tributary.
Right.
Same thing. That's why that's 50C31 charter.
Right.
It all goes under that tributary act. All right.
You know, so funny you said that real quick. Let me say it real quick. That's why when you talk to Christians, especially our people, they all repeat the same thing. You know, it's like they all under the same teaching. You know, and it go like you said, go back to that 501c3 charter. They got to make an agreement what to teach and what not to teach.
Exactly.
That's why we talk to Christians. They all repeat the same thing.
Exactly.
And if you hit them outside of that, they don't know what the hell to do.
Right.
They're stuck.
That's right. That's right. So, like we were saying, your birth certificate is a warehouse receipt. Without that birth certificate, you ain't nobody in this country or any other country, in third world country. You're nobody. You gotta have your birth certificate. Now, the birth certificates show you that you're in existence according to their records. And so when they do the census, they want to see if you're still living. Right? To say you don't have any medical. Say you're not working, you're just being a bum. You're not doing nothing. But when somebody come do that census, oh, he's still living. Let's put him on the record sheet. He lived to be, how old is he? 25 now. You know, he disappeared for 10 years. We couldn't find him. We found him now. That's why they're so adamant knocking on the doors again. We had, at my house, I had a lady bang on my door. She came around at least 3 times. And so I just happened not to be home, and my daughter, when she was little, she opened the door. And the lady left, she asked her who was living in the house. And my daughter told her everything. So she got the record. You know, at that time, my daughter was a teenager. So she gave her everything. You know, that's hearsay information that could be used against you. Right? Well, all they need to do is find out who's in the house.
Right.
What was you going to say?
About 5 years ago, before my grandmother passed, I came over there one day, and I wasn't paying them. I was some white lady sitting outside the car. Man, my family was in the house. They were scared of their life. They was all in there looking, peeking out the window. Nobody would leave out the house, but they didn't want that lady to harass them. But that woman would not leave from the front of the house.
Yeah.
She was adamant about getting that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you was talking about the Dukes,
Uh-huh.
you remember Trading Places? Remember the 2 old men, the rich men, who didn't know
Yeah,
their last
yeah,
name
yeah.
was? The Dukes.
They were called the Dukes,
It
huh?
was called the Dukes, yeah.
Wow.
The Duke family said, if you watch the episode, they'll say it was a family tradition. They should like all their forefathers the paintings of their forefathers.
Yeah.
all the dukes.
I gotta watch that again.
Yeah, I gotta watch
See,
that.
yeah, I was looking.
They found, and they burnt them with fire.
See, that's where we have to understand.
They got rid of the book.
They got rid of the books. That's why when you come across brothers and he was talking about the book of the Jasher, or the book of the Enoch, all these other books, it's telling you what they did with our books.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So just to cross-reference to show what they did with our books,
Right.
what the Most High said they was going to do to the book. So when somebody come up, start bringing all these, this is the book of the Enoch and this is the book of the Jasher. So just to show you that, you know, we also have a book of the war. We don't have that book.
Yeah, we got plenty of texts. Yeah.
Right. But, you know, we don't, if the war start right now, we don't know how to fight. I mean, you can physically fight, but I'm just saying, as far as to map out how we want to attack a country. Brothers don't know that. We don't know how to do that. You know, but this to show that, you know, what the nation did. When you reference about Rome.
Right.
You know, so I just wanted to bring it up on that.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. Good answer. Go to First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 21.
First Maccabees chapter 2, verse 21. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We would not hearken to the king's words, to go from our religion either on the right hand or the left. Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment, which when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to show his anger according to the judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. Also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like as Phinehas
Did unto Zambri.
did unto Zambri, the son of Salam. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
That's what we talk about now. When we're out there speaking on the streets, that's basically what we're doing. We're angry with the way that things are running in this world because it's not according to the way the Most High has things. Okay? And so we're out there telling anybody, if you're zealous for the law, stand for the law. Change your ways. We're doing the same thing our forefathers did. That's what Matthias was doing. All right? So when we look at that, we got to, think about ourselves. So let's look at when this beast came into play, how it affected the Israelites, right? And we talked about the tributaries. I want to show you how even in the New Testament, that once the Greeks left, that the tributaries kept going on and never stopped. Go to Luke chapter 2, verse 1. And like I said, when you pay tributary, that's taxes, which is census, which is birth certificates. So if there's birth certificates of our people, then they're hidden somewhere. And where are those records hidden? They got to be in the Vatican. There's no way on earth that we're going to pay taxes and there's not going to be a record of it. You understand?
That's right.
And if Yahushua paid taxes, guess what? There's got to be a record of it. Birth certificate too. Read that. Luke 2
book
1.
of Luke. This is the book of Luke, chapter 2, verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed, everyone into his own city. Also Joseph went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea.
So Joseph was taxed. That was Yahushua's father. So if Joseph was taxed, we should be able to find a record of Yahushua. Right? Come on.
Unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house of the lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being with great child.
Stop. It says to be taxed.
Being great with child.
It says to be taxed. You guys missed that whole, y'all missed that whole verse.
No, what's up?
What'd you see?
When it tell you to be taxed with Mary.
Read that
His
again.
spouse.
Chapter 2, Luke chapter 2, verse 5. To be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child.
She was pregnant.
Right,
already.
right,
So espouse means married.
right.
That's what espouse means.